Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another beautiful week here in sunny Southwest Florida. Welcome to another MLS Monday. Let's get to our topic today for the MLS Monday. So today we're talking about market stats and creating a story. If you've been with us for other MLS Mondays, you've noticed that there is quite frequently we cover multiple products at once that will cross over the same topic, right? So we've talked about the past couple of Mondays, different data products. And I think you've heard me say time and time again, we have multiple products for this because it's whatever you need, whatever is going to fit your personality, your work style, and your needs. But when it comes to the market stats tools, I think this one corner of the industry is where we have the most tools available to you, right? We've got plenty of data stuff, plenty of marketing stuff, but market stats, I mean, that's got to be our wheelhouse, right? We have all of the data, we have all of the true source of data, and that's where you're going to go to get your stats and try to figure out what story it is that you're trying to tell or what you're trying to get across to your consumers. So we are going to go through one, two, three, four different tools today, because that's how many are available to you just for market stats, which is pretty darn cool. You'll see that they're all completely different depending again on what it is that you need. So I, would like to tell you that as we go through this, think about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. I know everybody on these calls always coming from a different place, right? Your niche is different from somebody else's niche that might be on the webinar. And that's why even though Southwest Florida can feel so small, we still have around 10,000 realtors that thrive in this business because we all do different things. So think to yourself, are you trying to tell a broad story? Are you just trying to give broad market stats of maybe it's Lee County or it's Cape Coral or Fort Myers? Do you just want broad stats? Or are you trying to get down into the nitty gritty niche of finding a specific thing to talk about, right? And this is going to apply to a multitude of channels. So are you looking for social media content? Are you trying to fill your email, whether you do a weekly or a monthly email to consumers? Where is it that you're trying to put this information? I've seen a lot of people also use the stats for blogs and specific conversations. So aside from a broad view of the market, right, which is like median days on market, median price, or median sales numbers or listings, those are your basic numbers. You've got people who write blogs on specific topics that they pull this market data for as well. So I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with somebody who was working with the global market. Specifically, they were looking at German customers because they were from Germany, they spoke German, and they wanted to work with German customers. And so they were pulling stats specifically on people who had listings that were for the buyers. So when you go to close out a listing, right, you enter in if the buyer was from another country. And they were pulling stats on how many of those were marked from Germany. We had somebody recently who was doing an article on, what the sales were for Canadians as of a year ago and now, right? That's a hot topic. So aside from, I tell you this to make you think creatively, right? It's not just about giving them these five different stats like, hey, here's the average price, here's how many listings there are, here's the turnover rate, right? Tell a story with it. Really think about what your niche client is, your niche customer, what it is that excites you. What do you think about on a daily? Whether it's the global market, maybe it's investors, right? Like how much movement was there for investors a year ago and today? These are different stories that you can tell. And whether it's just a short little write-up that you do on a social media post, or you decide to write an entire blog about it, pulling these stats with these different tools is what is going to give you the content for those stories that you're going to tell so that you have actual data behind it, right? And whether you've got the write-up that has images in it that you take from these tools or you create the images yourself, there are so many different paths that you can take with this, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to hop into each tool and hopefully you've got your creative caps on now so that you can think about what it is that you want to create with these market stats and all these different things that you can pull. So just on our dashboard alone, we have three different tools that you can use for market stats. Domus Analytics is the first one we come across, and that we have had for a while. There is a plethora of tools inside of Domus Analytics. They've got four different tools that we'll go through inside of there. You also then have, this is called labeled market stats, but it's also known as InfoSparks. For those of you who have been in the industry for a while, we used to have InfoSparks. It went away for a while and we brought it back last year. So for those of you who were like huge fanatics of InfoSparks, you've got that right here. It's provided through Showing Time. So that's like part of that whole suite of tools that they offer, is the Market Stats InfoSparks tool. The third one actually exists inside of Matrix. So we'll hop over there in a little bit. We'll go into MLS and I'll show you how you can use the stats tab inside of MLS. And then last but not least, the fourth tool that we're going to go over today is actually out on the Florida Realtors website. Said that backwards, Florida Realtors website, SunStats. Okay, so they also offer you a tool. So here at Florida Gulf Coast MLS, you've got 3 tools on the dashboard. And then your fourth one is going to be out on Florida Realtors because they pull all of the state data if you're looking to compare and contrast with different areas or even provide information on different areas other than our local area right here. That's a cool tool for that. So let's go ahead. We're going to dive into the first one, which is Domus Analytics. And I don't think I said it in the beginning, but if you guys have any questions throughout this, the chat box is disabled, but you can use the Q&A box down at the bottom. If you type into the Q&A box, it'll alert me and I will answer your questions as we go. And there are no wrong questions, I promise you. All right, so clicking into Domus Analytics, you can see that they have their own dashboard here. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So they've got 4 different types of data tools in here. And I like to think of these, if you go from left to right, starting at the beginning, it's basic data, and then it gets more detailed the further you move here. They do give you nice little columns here to let you know what the tool does. But we're going to go ahead and click into each of these. So to access the different parts of the tools, you're just going to click on the icon. So we'll start on the first left-hand column. And what this does is produces a little infographic. Like I said, very, very basics is where we start off with. So you're going to get median sales price, closed sales, the active inventory, median days on market, how many new listings there are, and then median sales price per square foot. Okay. The only options that you have here for editing are the type of home. Okay, so single family, condo, manufactured. If you want to have them all in there, you can. This, from the last time I was in here, remembered that I had single family residence selected. So you can include everything if you want, but maybe you're the condo queen, the condo king, you just want to do condos, you can do that. I've had a lot of questions lately, people who are working the manufactured home communities. You can specialize in that and just publish that. And then you also can select down your cities. So it automatically comes with everything selected, but let's say we just wanted to do Cape Coral. We'll pick on Cape Coral and get that. And then this is showing us monthly. So it's showing us versus January of 2026. So this is the month over month when you're looking at the percentage of change. But we also can have it like examine weekly, quarterly, year over year. So maybe instead we want to look at the numbers that are happening right now versus where we ended in 2025. So this little option right here, we'll do year to date. So this date back in 2025, you can really determine where these percentage of change is coming from so that your post would show, you know, when you go to post or you go to put it in your email, you would state that we're up 5.8% from last month, right? If you did the yearly one, you would say we're up 5.8% or whatever it would be from last year. So you can determine what it is, the story that you want to tell. But again, these are the basics that you get. It's really great if you need to come out here, grab something quick and go, right? If you're looking to decide what metrics you want to report on, that's going to be for another tool that we'll show here in the future. So you can take a snippet of this and post it out. You can also click the print button down here and it'll give you a PDF of this so that you can quickly grab it, send it out, post it, do whatever you might need with that. And it will be just this square here that has the beach background on it. You will not see any of this information up top. And I believe we already have a question. Is any of this information translated into other languages? This is not translated into other languages. There has been some ask, and I know that the folks down at Domus Analytics are toying around with it. English is their first language, so I know that they're trying to tread carefully to find the right resources 4 other languages. But right now, the tools that we have are just in English. But that's a great question. Great question. And we've seen the suggestions coming through that we've passed on to them for sure. Alrighty, so the next column here is called market review, and you'll notice that what you get here is a little bit more detail and a couple more metrics. But really, really cool data, really, really cool visuals, something that you can print and you can grab as well. But also, if you're sitting with your customers and you wanted to kind of walk through this, maybe they're sellers and you're trying to talk about pricing, maybe they're buyers, you're trying to talk about offers, it's interactive. So you can run your mouse over it and it'll tell you exactly what the data point is. So you can see that's November 2025 and it was 2,313. But this will also give you the percent of change. So it gives you 2 different ones though. So before we only had 1% of change. This one is showing us where we were February of 2025. And then this is year prior. And then this one is showing January of 2026. So this is month prior, right? So we're up 1.6% from the previous month. So that's month over month. We're up 1.1% from the previous year. So this is year over year. But it gives you more of a visual instead of just the hard number and 1% change like the infographic did. And this one's got colors with the arrows so you can see like there was no percent change. So it's yellow. Was it down? Is it up? But great different metrics and they're labeled out here on the side as well. So with this tool also, you can change the property type, you can change the city, and then you can change month over month, week over week, year over year so that this number here would change for you, but it's always going to show you February of the previous year, or once we get to April, it'll show you March of the previous year once we close out this month. But great tool to utilize with your customers or take a snippet and post it out. This is something probably that would fit more in like a blog or a weekly, right? Because there's like a lot more smaller details that you want to be able to give it more space than social media might allow. But you can use it however you feel is fit. So the third tool here, Market Insights. We'll click into this. And we've just expanded the detail and the filters here, but these are more so full on graphs, right? They're not just visuals. It is hard data. It's giving you full on graphs. Again, something that's great for an email campaign, a write-up, a blog. If you choose to post it on social media, you certainly can. But what's great about this is you've got a lot more editing features up top here. So right now we're just looking at one metric at a time. So the chart is displaying the median sales price. But you have all of these different metrics that you can choose from, right? How many cash sales are there? How many days were they pending? Days on the market? How many lists to close, which would also be days on market, mortgage payments, PITI, affordable home index. So they compare these to a whole plethora of different details. So to keep it simple, we'll stay on the median sales price, but if you wanted to get into other details for other conversation pieces, especially when it comes to like mortgage rates and things like that, they've got a lot more information that you can filter by in here. So median sales price, it gives us a hard number right now is 475,000, right? So it is down 1.6% compared to the previous month. So in here, we can compared to the previous year, February of 2025. So in here, we can choose what we want it to compare to, and we can get down to a specific month. It doesn't have to be just the previous month or the previous year. You can choose exactly what month you want to compare it to. And it tells us in February of 2025, the median sales price was 482,000, right? But this is really, really great if you're telling a specific story that has to do with a specific time. We have a lot of people who say like, hey, like, especially when we come into like hurricane seasons or we come out of hurricane season, they're like, what's the percentage change since like X hurricane? Well, you could pull that month and, do an entire story based on that. Or if there's like a big, like, we talk about weather events, we talk about political events, we talk about mortgage rate events. You can look at when those happened and compare them to that exact month if you wanted to. So then you have other options here to build this chart out. The time series, you can see it's a line. If you wanted to, you could do columns by price distribution or comparisons. It doesn't work with the median sales price, but if we were to change this parameter, to, there we go. If it depends on which data you're using, depends on which item you want to use here. You'll be able to tell right away if it's not the right piece of data with the right chart item. Most of the people are using the line items here, but you certainly can do bar graphs if you wanted to. And they even have the geo zip code maps here, which are really, really cool visuals for social media. All right, so we'll keep it with the line graph for now with the median sales price. You can also change it out. How do you want it broken out? Monthly, weekly, quarterly? So if I did quarterly, you would tell it would flatten out more, less data points down here so that we could see what the price was quarter by quarter. You can also do yearly, break the data out however you want to. You can also separate this line out. So right now it is showing everything, every property type, every zip code, but maybe you wanted to compare property types. So you can break them out by property type. I only have single family selected. So let's go in here and add in a couple different ones. I'll hide these filters, let it load. So now that I've added those in and I've broken it out by property type, you can see them comparing to each other. Manufactured homes, condos, single family, right? But you can break this out and have multiple lines for multiple things. So you could do the property type like I did, or you could break it out by county, you could break it out by city, area, zip code, if it's new construction, if it's not new construction, and one of the hot buttons that was requested, waterfront, right? Does it have waterfront? Doesn't it? The cash sales, is there buyer financing, days on market ranges, bedrooms, and square footage. So if you're trying to, again, tell a story and the differences and the price margins that there are for different metrics, then you can break this out here. Now, you'll notice that I opened this up and I had an entire box here of filters. So this is where it's also expanded from the previous tools that we used in Domus Analytics. Before, we just had the property type and the city. Now you can filter by property type still, county, city, the geocodes if you use those regularly, zip codes, new construction, is it yes, no, or is it just land, the waterfront options, and then the buyer financing type, right? So if you're looking at closed sales, do you only want to look at cash? Maybe you work with the veterans a lot and you're doing a report on VA transactions and data. You can filter by just that. Really get creative here in the type of story that you're trying to tell and the data that you're pulling to tell that story. You can also pull by a specific price range. So if you're like trying to do a report on closed sales that are just in the 500 to a million range, you can filter that out right here. Living area, bedrooms, year built, and acres are, oh, and baths. Little tiny one over here. So you've got all of these filters available to you now that you really, really could structure this out into like a crazy story and get very, very niche, very specific with it. Lots of filters. You don't need to use all of those filters. You could simply keep everything checked and just do median sales price. It would pull everything that's in our MLS and add it into that chart right here. And again, this is something that is that you can play with. So as your mouse goes over it, you'll notice here that it tells you exactly what that data point is. And then your options are up here if you wanted to copy the chart, if you wanted to download all the data in the chart. And then this one is, oh, sorry, this is the data download, and then this is to download the chart. But you've got the simple print button right here as well. So this is something you could grab and attach, or you could take a little screenshot of it, snip it, and post it out, add it into your blog, whatever it is that you're trying to do. You'll also notice that at the top up here, it's giving us the story right now for February of 2026. But again, you can choose what month you want the report to be on, aside from just choosing what month you're comparing it to. So I see this used a lot specifically, aside from doing market stats from like a social media or marketing standpoint. I see people use this when they're talking to their sellers and they're saying, well, hey, like my house was, I got a CMA done on it and it was worth X amount 5 months ago. You can do a comparison between 5 months ago to now. You also could do from the time that they purchased it to 5 months ago to now. There's so many different ways that you could run comparisons to help people understand the shifts in the market. All right, seeing no questions yet. I do want to point out that this tool is more so used for CMA and pricing with maybe buyers' offers or what sellers are looking to publish. Not so much to tell a marketing insight story, but I will display it for you really quickly because it's one of my favorite freaking tools in Damis. So if we had a property, we'll say it's a Cape Coral property, single family residence. We want to compare it to active, closed, and pending deals in the past 3 months. And we have to make sure that something is selected in every box before data will display. So if you're ever using this tool and nothing's displaying, check and make sure that something is at least selected in all of these boxes. Let's see, we'll go to 33904 so that there's not so many data points. And we'll go within a specific price range here. And I probably out-filtered myself. All right. So just for example's sake for right now, you can see, we'll hide the filter so you can see the entire map here. So you would be sitting with buyers or sellers and they would say, hey, I think my home is worth, we'll put 550,000. And the square footage of the home, we'll say it's 1,500. All right. So what this does is shows you all of the data points of, again, we chose active, pending, and closed. And it shows you the certain colors. So active is one color, pending is another color, closed is another color. There's a lot of data points here. I suggest filtering it down so you don't have so many data points. However, it shows you where the average is for the data points and then where your average lies based on the price, right? So the price is 550,000 right here. There's that gray line and 1,500 square footage. So then it takes that and makes the square footage price, and it shows that we're above the average. Sometimes you'll put in prices and it'll show you're below for pricing per square foot, but maybe above for pricing. So it just shows where you land amongst the stars. The dark black line is showing you what the data average is. And then the gray line again is showing you where you're landing for price per square foot and overall pricing. Really cool tool to play with your customer, because then you can sit here and say, okay, well, if that's too much, maybe we'll go down to 500,000. You can continue to enter it in here. It shifts and it shows them, where they land. Something that you can sit in with them and work through. And if you click on any of the data points, right, because they're like, well, how come these people got so much for their property? If you click on it, it'll tell you what the MLS number is so that you can bring it up and say, oh, hey, look, like they've got this crazy outdoor kitchen and all these, I don't know, crazy theme park in the backyard. Who knows what it is? So really, really cool tool to give you just pricing insights for specific conversations that you may have with buyers or sellers. So these ones are going to be for your market stats tools, and then this one is going to be for very specific instances. What's great about these tools is if you double click on here, this little circle down below, they have embedding tools where you can put these on your website. So a lot of the tools that we played with where, you ran your mouse across the chart and it allowed you to interact with it, you can put those right on your website so that the consumers who go to your website can play around with the charts as well and play around with the demographics and the cities and the single family or the condos. And then they're able to see the data points just as you did. So kind of a little addition piece. You can put this into your website, and then maybe you could link your website on your social media posts or your emails. If you're posting these charts out, you can tell them, hey, if you're looking for something different or more specific, go visit my site. I've got all of the data right there at your fingertips for you to play with. All right, so that is everything inside of Damis Analytics. If you guys have any questions about them, we will come back to them. In the meantime, so here's that one we just visited. Next, what we're going to hop over to is market stats right here. Now, this tool is a lot more straightforward. So Damis, you've got all of the different pillars, all of the different options. And again, it's something very basic all the way to something very detailed. With InfoSparks, they're just giving you hard data. Okay, so this is the dashboard. This is always where you land. There's not all kinds of different options. But you can get really, really creative with the filters on here. I suggest coming out here, playing around, getting comfortable with it so that you have what you need before you like are in a pinch and need to produce something, right? So right now we're going to start at the top. You can see that we're looking at the entire MLS, but you can drop this down and you could filter it by city, county, zip code, geo area. So if we did Cape Coral, because we keep picking on them today, then this is going to give us the data for Cape Coral. Now down below, this is our chart. You're going to see it continues to move as we do. So you can do all price ranges. You can do all property types. We've been picking on single family today, so we'll just select out single family. But if I wanted to, I could add in townhouse, condo, or manufactured homes. They have construction type, square footage, and then you use these little scrolly buttons here, bedrooms, bathrooms. So pretty basic stuff to filter down by. We'll just keep it at single family for now. What it's giving us, though, is the sales price. So down below, you're choosing what metric it is that you want. These are all of the metrics. So you could do closed sales, pending sales, price per square foot. What's cool is what they have that others don't is the showing information. I told you that they are also tied in with showing time. They're part of the suite, so they're able to pull that in. So specifically, if you're looking for showing data, this is your place to go. So showings, the amount of showings that they had on showing time before it went pending, or the showings that are per listing, cool data that you're not going to get somewhere else. So we'll stick with sales price. That's kind of what we've been looking at in all of our other tools, right? You can choose if you want a line graph or a bar graph. All right. You can also choose what you're looking at. Right now, we're looking at the past 3 years, but you could just look at the past year, the past 5 years, the past 10 years, and max for as long as they've been. The data goes back, which I believe, don't quote me, I believe it's 12 years. So you can also then decide if you want it broken down monthly, on a rolling 3 months, rolling 6 months. You can see like it wave flattens out the data when you're only pulling a data point every 6 months. And this is, again, interactive. Okay, so you can run your mouse over it. What's really cool about this, though, aside from having the showing data and the hard filters on here, you can compare and contrast anything you want. So we could come up here, we could compare it to Fort Myers, right? A lot of people say, hey, what's the difference? You know, is it more expensive to live in Fort Myers or Cape Coral, or, you know, I'm better luck selling in Cape Coral or Fort Myers? So we'll keep this at single family like our other one. And then you can see the difference between Cape Coral and Fort Myers. It makes a comparison chart for you. What's really cool, though, is aside from just comparing cities, you could come out here and create something that was both Cape Coral, maybe one's new construction, one's previously owned, right? Maybe you want to compare two different types of data in the same city, or you want to compare two cities, or I've seen people do like the overall county. So if we changed this to county and we did Lee, right? Because Cape Coral is in Lee County, it would give you an idea of like where Cape Coral stands in comparison to all of Lee County, a lot more closer than Fort Myers and Cape Coral comparisons were, right? And you can continue to add areas. So you could add in here Cape Coral, Fort Myers, and Lee County. You could add in new construction versus previously owned for both Cape Coral and Fort Myers, right? You can have a many lines on this chart for comparison, and then it's going to show you along the side here which ones you have and what, like, this is like your key, right? What color they are and what the hard numbers are. So really cool comparison tool to build out multiple sets of data and compare and contrast. I think you get this more on this tool than any other. So I would say, like, if you're looking for hard data on one set of a specific niche, go to Domus Analytics. If you're looking for compare and contrast situations, or you're looking for showing information, then you're going to come out here to Info Sparks, which is also labeled Market Stats. But some really cool stuff for you to be able to grab. And then there is the easy print and share button right here at the top of your chart. If you also are half blind like I am, you can collapse those filters so that you can better see this chart, so that you don't have to worry when it comes out. It is not that teeny little like strip of data. This is that full chart. And then if you need to add in filters again, your little arrow is right there. So that is InfoSparks. Pretty easy to go through once you've gone through one data tool. A lot of them work the same. It's just that some of them have some different aspects to each other. So we're going to move on to the next tool. If you have any questions about InfoSparks, though, I can always come back to it. All right, our third market stats tool that we're going to use is right here inside of Matrix. So when you come in, most of the time we're going right to search or we're going right to input, right? You're either putting in a listing or you're trying to find your buyers some property. What most people don't see, however, is there is a stats button up here at the top. And this is one of my favorite stats tools when it comes to telling a story, because every single filter that you have in the MLS, you can filter by in here. So the other tools that we went through, right, they had bedrooms, bathrooms, what type of building is it, maybe year built, like there's probably 6 to 10 filters that you get in the other tools. But this one is unlimited. So first you're going to choose which stats you want to do. Do you want to do residential, residential income, rental? Maybe you want to pull everything. You go down to cross property. We'll pick on residential for right now. So you can see this looks a lot like your search that you're used to, which is kind of comforting, right? You don't have to learn a new search or anything like that. You know where your filters are. Everything's here as you're used to. What's great though is aside from the given default filters, you also have the add and remove button down here, same as you do when you're searching for properties for your buyers, right? So you can add and remove any field that's in the MLS. I mean, down to something as simple as somebody ran a report on doing a comparison of homes that had fences and don't have fences, right? So they added in the filter down here for exterior. I don't know if I already have it. No. So if we add in exterior features, we'll add that in. And this is just a random example, right? Get as creative as you want to. And then they came down here and put in fence and pulled stats just based on people who had fence and then people who didn't have fences and did a price comparison. They did days on market comparison. It seems really, really niche, but they did a whole article on fences. And then, hey, it's material, it gets clicks. People are curious. Should I put the fence in? Shouldn't I? Am I going to get my return on investment? Right? And you take that concept and you apply it to anything. Maybe it's the pool, right? That's a hot topic. Houses that have pools, houses that don't have pools, houses that have 2-car garages, 3-car garages, like all of this data in here can really be turned into a story for you. Things that people are wondering that you have the answers to. They don't have access to the data like you do. So aside from putting in the filters here, we'll pick on Cape Coral again. And let me unselect fences because that's just very, very niche. So we're going to pick on Cape Coral again. There are a lot of system presets where you can just click a button and boop, it's going to create that report for you, right? You can do days on market versus list price and the median list price. So what that looks like if you're trying to create a report on what days on market are doing. Historic count of active listings month over month, historic sales per year, historic sales price trend, right? These are all just pre-made charts. I suggest whatever data it is that you specialize in, plug in your filters and then click each of these to see what you're going to get. Because it might be something that you're looking for, something you never even thought of that you're like, this is really cool. I got to share this with the world. All right. So click through these and play with them. I spend most of my time in the customize tab because then I can build out exactly what chart it is that I want. Okay. So you're going to choose the time frame. Do I just want to look at what the previous month did? Do I want to look at the previous year? So 2025. Do I want to look at the past 12 months? Year to date? You can even put in a custom one. And I find myself doing this a lot. This goes back to that example of somebody saying like, hey, like such and such happened in this month. What's the change since then, right? Whether it's a weather event, political event, any of your price changes in mortgage, so you can plug in those specific dates. But let's just look at the past 12 months, just to keep it simple for this chart. Then you choose your statistic, right? Previously in the other tools, these were called metrics, but statistic and metric are the same thing, right? Like what is it that you're trying to pull? So in here, you can do a lot of different things. You can see there's a long list of data that you can pull: active listings by volume, how many active listings are there, there's closed sales, there's days on market, lots of different comparison pieces. Months of inventory, pretty cool. I know that's a hot button lately. So come out here, play with it, choose what data it is that you're looking to do. Let's look at the number of active listings. And then how do you want the data grouped? Do you want it to show month over month? If you were doing like different areas, if you were doing different data, sometimes it'll give you different information here, but we're just going to leave it at month over month for now. When you're done, you click generate here at the bottom and bada bing, bada boom. Sometimes it takes a minute. It is pulling every single piece of data we have in the MLS. But once it does load, it's going to give us all of the information over the past 12 months, how many active listings there were by month. There she is. And this is our bar graph. Okay. So you can see here, we've got August of 2025, May of 2025, June, July, so on and so forth, all the way to where we are now and how many active listings there are. It does remind you here at the bottom what filters you have applied. I know sometimes when I play with this tool too much, I add in all these filters and I'm like, God, that data looks weird. And then I go, oh, I have way filtered too many things. You know, I left too many buttons clicked. So good way to double check your data before you publish it out there. You also can just look at the raw data. So if the visual isn't what you want and you're looking for numbers, because maybe you're going to create your own like super chic luxury looking report to put on social media, you can just pull the hard numbers here. You can also grab a Excel spreadsheet of what that data is as well. Quick download by clicking that button. So multiple options. Now, what Matrix excels in, what your MLS excels in, is the data. You've got crazy amount of filters, crazy amount of data, really, really cool numbers to pull by. Obviously, not the most visually pleasing, and that's okay because we can't excel at everything, but they give you the really, really cool data to be able to tell that story. You can create your own chart, plug it into, you know, maybe it's a blog or an email or whatever it is that you're writing. But if you did want to grab the chart and the data, you can click the print button or you can click the email button and it'll send it off to you. So I like to say that of the three tools we offer, right, Domus Analytics is going to give you really, really cool hardcore data for specific situations, really cool visuals and interactive graphs, things that you could put on your website. That's what they excel in. InfoSparks and Market Stats tool, which was the second one we went over, they excel in comparison data as well as showing data. And then what MLS and Matrix excels in is having a high amount of hyper local filters, right? That's why there's so many different MLSs from city to city or county to county, area to area, because data is very hyper local. We've got a lot of information in here about canals and waterfront, sailboat access, and you think of it, anything that's Florida lifestyle, it's in here, but you're not going to find that in the mountains of Montana, right? They've got different filters about basements and elevation and all of these crazy other things. But that's why this tool is so important because it is truly hyper local, built out by your local MLS, giving you access to have that kind of comparison conversation or posts that are going to be about the Florida lifestyle and the homes and the different comparisons that you can create with this data. So last but not least is the tool that is provided to you via Florida Realtors. So on the Florida Realtors website, which is floridarealtors.org, there is a quick button up here to get to SunStats. They also have their own website, which is, if you see at the top here, sunstats.floridarealtors.org. So you can get to it multiple ways. If you bookmark the sunstats.floridarealtors.org, easy way to get to it. If not, if you forget to bookmark it like I do, just come out here to Florida Realtors and grab it. You will log into this separately because it is a Florida Realtors tool. It is not ours. So you want to use your Florida Realtors login. If you've never logged into the Florida Realtors website, go ahead and create that login and then you'll have it forever. What's great about this tool that's different from ours, again, is they cover all of Florida. So you can look at all kinds of different areas other than just ours. So the other tools we looked at are pulling just our MLS and our data. This one is pulling the entire state. So the dashboard right off the bat just gives you hard numbers, right? Closed sales. We've got February 2026 in comparison to last year, February 2025, the percentage of change, and then this cool little noodle looking graph. It always makes me giggle. I think it's cool that you can at least see the trajectory, right? Like, is it pointed up? Is it pointed down? But this is a line graph based on the data points over the past 12 months. Does it expand? No, not unless you go to Chart Builder, but cool little wiggly line just to give you either happy feelings or doom and gloom feelings, right? Just a nice little line. So you've got closed sales, you've got cash sales as a percentage of closed sales, median price, average price, dollar volume, median percent of original list price, all kinds of data. I don't really need to read all of these to you guys. Go out here, play around with it, see all of the numbers. All right. So right off the bat, you've just got hard numbers. And this is for Cape Coral Fort Myers MSA. So you can change this. And we're just looking at single family homes. Big change button up here so that you can look at all property types. Or just townhomes, manufactured homes. Obviously, I picked on single family homes in a class before, but it shows you what that map covers, right? So it doesn't just break it down by MLSs. They're looking at metropolitan statistical areas. It's a nice big term for you, right? MSA. And these are basically kind of like what the government uses and the census data uses. That's what they refer to when they look at areas. So Cape Coral and Fort Myers is a metropolitan statistical area. However, you can look at the entire state if you wanted to. You can scroll through all of the other MSAs if you are interested in that. And if we keep scrolling, you can go by county. If you're like, I don't even know what an MSA is, metropolitan statistic area is a term that scares me. All good and well. You can come down here to county, and you guessed it, if you keep scrolling, you can also go down to city. So I see a lot of people here. I'll pick on, and we can search too. We'll do Sarasota. A lot of people pick on Sarasota because they will post a version of Lee County, and then they will post Sarasota because a lot of people are always like, I'm moving down from Boston and I don't know if I want to live in Sarasota or Cape Coral. I heard they're very similar. Well, you can grab two of these, right? Put them up side by side and be able to send that off to a customer or post about it if you want to. So once you've filtered out, it's just by area or by property type. They do not get very detailed in here with the filters, but it's just cool that you can kind of go all over Florida. You're going to go ahead and click apply. And then you've got the data in here for Sarasota instead. But this again is just kind of for your knowledge. If you want to come out here and get a pulse, I come out here once a month and I check on several different cities in comparison. Stuff to share is going to be in here in Chart Builder and the Infographic Creator. Chart Builder up at the top. Click over, let it load for a second. It's Monday. It doesn't want to work like the rest of us. Here we go. We have the chart. What's cool about the chart builder and the infographic creator is you've got a few more filters than you do on your generic dashboard. So here we have our friendly line graph that we've gotten very used to over the past hour. And you've got options. You can download it or you can download it with branding, which will put your photo, your name, and your information in it. Go up to settings and make sure that your stuff is all plugged in there if you want to download it with branding, okay? You can also then just get the hard data. So you can download the CSV and get all of these data points. So you can get the graph or you can get the chart, right? Over here on the side, geographic area, it defaults to where I'm at. Okay, so my association is Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association based in the Cape Coral Fort Myers MSA. So every time you move tabs, you're going to want to fix that. You also now can change the metric. What are you looking at on the chart? We saw all of these different metrics laid out before on the dashboard, but now you get to choose which one you want to go by. So right now we're just looking at closed sales. Again, you can filter by property type. Decide if you want to look at it month over month. That's what's showing right here, February, March, April, May, June. You can look at the quarters. You can look at the year. Based on how you want your chart built out. You can even plug in a specific date range. Hey, I only want to look at I don't know, COVID years through to today. Whatever story it is you're trying to tell, you can plug in that date range and shorten your chart up. You can display as year over year percent of change, or you can include the zero on the vertical axis. So for those of you that are chart nerds and data nerds like myself, lots of options there. Then there's also advanced options here for price tiers, sales type. So for those of you who are looking at foreclosures and short sales, we get those questions a lot, right? They're like, are foreclosures on the rise? Well, here's a way to write an article about that, post about it. But you have all transactions types. You can just do traditional, which would take out anything distressed, or you can do foreclosures, or you can do short sales. And last but not least, compare by geographic area, metrics, property types. So you can really, really get nerdy here. Make sure you click apply when you're done. It doesn't just happen automatically. And that will update your chart here. All right, moving on to the infographic creator, which is what people use this tool for the most. You have the same set of filters here on the left-hand side. The only difference that you've got now is you can choose if you want this to be in landscape or in square, based on the post parameters. You know, if you're using Instagram, if you're using Facebook, or it's going in your website, your email, whatever it is that you need, it'll kind of bunch it up into a different shape for you. And then you also can choose, do you want one property type or dual property types? So this would do single family and townhouse condo. And now instead of having one metric, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 metrics, right? So 6 different pieces of data that you get to report on, and they allow you to pick out those different metrics. So because I've got it broken down into, let's see, 2 dual properties, it'll limit me. I'll click apply so you guys can see the difference. It limits me to 3 metrics, okay, because it's comparing the single families and the townhome and condos. However, if you do one property, there are 6 blocks, and you then get to choose 6 metrics. So if we click apply, you can see it's just single family homes, and there are 6 metrics. So limited on space, you can either do 3 by 3, comparing 3 different types of data, or you include everything and you get 6 different types of data. But same filters that you had before. So the property type, month over month, year over year, quarterly, and then if you want to include branding or don't want to include branding, and advanced options, again, your price tiers, and then your either foreclosures, short sales, or traditional options. But this is a great way, instead of grabbing like the hard data to create, you know, a write-up or a story, if you wanted to grab something really quick to post out on social media, this is really, really cool. And it's always in these colors, right? So your branding could be attached here at the bottom, but it's not gonna like look like it's branding anybody else. It's just Florida citrus colors. They try to go with something that was bright, fun, colorful, and very Floridian. It gives them up top when this data applies to. So this is the February 2026 data. It's just single family homes for the Cape Coral Fort Myers MSA. But again, you can come over here and pull whatever it is that you might want. We'll do Sarasota County and click apply. And I see a lot of people come out here and grab multiple charts, right? They're like, hey, here's Lee County and Sarasota County. Here's the differences between the two. Write a story on it, do a post on it, whatever it is that you might need. Just really, really cool way to share out everything that is in Florida. So we've got 10 minutes to spare and we've covered 4 tools today. Hopefully you guys aren't like deer in the headlights, but just some really, really cool ways to pull market data and market stats so that you could tell a story. Again, whether it's a generic post, a generic email of a broad view of the market, or you're trying to tell a specific story about a specific niche part of the market, you've got all of these options available to you. So as you work through this, if you guys get lost at all or you need any assistance, a lot of the tools have help buttons in them, but you can also contact us here at the MLS. We'll help you through the product best we can. So you can call us, ask for the gals in MLS, or you can email us, mls@rpcra.org, and we're here to help you guys. I appreciate you coming out for another MLS Monday, and hopefully we'll see you right here next week. Thanks, guys.